Sean?
All right, let's talk about, well, obviously a shift in the House compared to last week, and Speaker Boehner now he's pledged to pass a continuing resolution that defunds Obamacare. As of last week, a lot of us didn't think that would happen. What's your reaction?
Well, I think the voice of the people eventually does get through to its leadership, and people are hearing. When I travel in Kentucky or across the United States, everybody comes up to me and says, defund it. Obamacare is a disaster. We don't want it. What
about your colleagues? The argument has been made that, well, the backlash if there's a government shutdown is going to be on our backs. We're going to get blamed. The media is going to blame us. The Democrats are going to blame us. I've never bought into that argument. What's your answer to that?
Well, my answer is I don't think we should shut down the government. I think we should defund Obamacare. If the Democrats won't agree to that, then we come together and we do have to have a compromise. So we're not going to get everything we want. But what's ridiculous is the president comes out yesterday and says, oh, if the Republicans don't get 100% of what they want, they're going to shut down government. It's actually completely the opposite. He wants 100% of Obamacare as passed by Democrats with no input from Republicans, or he'll shut the government down. It's him threatening to shut it down. He doesn't want to listen to any reason or any compromise.
All right, but the reality is I never connected the two, because if the Republicans in the House, let's walk through this. If they fund our debt, our obligations, our military, Social Security, and the rest of the government, but they don't fund Obamacare, and they send it over to the Senate, and they won't either take it up, or if they do a piecemeal, and the president doesn't want to sign the legislation, then who's really shutting down the government in that case? Wouldn't it be him?
Well, what happens is the Democrats will pass a bill that fully funds Obamacare. The Republicans won't. Historically, the way compromise is they'd come together in a conference committee and they'd split the difference, and we'd find what I think the American people want is to see us sometimes working for a middle ground. So what I tell people is I think Obamacare is bad from top to bottom, but maybe the best we can do, because the Democrats control the presidency and the Senate, is we make the bill less bad.
All right, how would you do that? Tom Graves has a proposal to maybe delay it for a year. Is that something you'd accept?
Possibly. Delay the individual mandate, delay the employer mandate. I'd just soon delay the whole thing. There's a lot of bad things in there. Even President Clinton has come out now and said, well, there's going to be a lot of low-income families that are forced to buy insurance and won't be able to afford to do it. There's going to be a lot of people who have insurance and it's going to cost them more. And there's going to be a lot of part-time workers who may lose hours and become more and more impoverished by not being able to get enough hours at work. There's a lot of bad things that need to be fixed about this bill. But then some say, let the Democrats own it. When it comes forward, it's going to be terrible, and it can be their baby.
What's your answer to that?
I really think I'm afraid to get Obamacare and make it full law, because once it's in, it's hard to get rid of entitlements. And I think it is such a bad thing for the American economy and for the American worker that we should do everything we can to stop it.
What do you think about all of these businesses now that are coming out and they're saying they're only going to hire people for 29 hours as a result of the law?
Yeah, not only do you have the small businesses, the service industry that have a lot of part-time workers saying they're going to reduce workers' hours, you also have the very well-paid union workers saying, Mr. President, you're going to do a special tax on my health care. That's not fair. And you saw the smiling union bosses coming out of the White House. The real question is he going to make up and give them kind of some special deal that he's not willing to give the rest of America?
All right, you've been making a few trips recently. I see to Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and I see you smiling. And the question is, you're really considering a run for the presidency in 2016?
I'm working very hard to make sure our party's bigger and more inclusive. Today, I was talking about mandatory minimums, trying to make drug sentencing more fair, because African Americans have been disproportionately affected. I want to talk about things that say, you know what, African American population in our country, you are welcome in the Republican Party. Latinos, you're welcome in our party. That we become a more inclusive party, and then I think we're going to win nationally. Whether it's me or somebody else, right now I just want to work on making the party bigger.
Do you think the party is moving more towards a libertarian way of thinking and maybe pushing aside social issues, or is it just going to be a coalition party?
It's always going to be a coalition. There will always be social conservatives. There will always be social moderates in our party. But I think there also need to be some voices for a less aggressive foreign policy. Reagan believed in a strong national defense, and I absolutely agree with him. So strong that no one would ever think about